Okay, so I'm Joshua Cantu, and this is gonna be the last vlog, and it's gonna be over the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 22nd, and 26th amendments. Um, Now the 16th Amendment, um, what it says, like the protections, it says allows Congress the right to collect tax on income from whatever source derived. This basically means that this was a way for the federal government to help repay its debt and keep the roads and everything that they needed. Now, for people or groups that work towards making the amendment happen, you can see Cordell Hall, William Howard Taft, and most poor people. Now some of the obstacles that this amendment faced while helping it get ratified was that since the Democrats were against the amendment, they would pretty much reject every bill that had to deal with it. That's why it took about 4 years for the amendment to finally be ratified. Now, how did the 16th Amendment impact the U.S.? It shifted the power from the states government, like away from the states government, and it gave it to the federal power, like the federal government. My bad. Now, the 17th Amendment protections designates the election process rather than appointment for senators. Now, what this means, it's another way for the senator to be elected, and by the people. Now, some of the people or groups that work to make this amendment happen. Um, the U.S. House of Representatives. That's that's the most important one, basically. Now, another obstacles that the 17th Amendment faced was that the states were against giving up the power because it felt because they already thought that like too much power was being taken away from them, and they didn't like that. Now, the time that it took for the 17th Amendment to happen was it took about an entire year. Yeah, it took like an entire year for the amendment to be ratified. Now the senators could be chosen by the people, pretty much. Now the 18th Amendment. There we go. The 18th Amendment protection. It says prohibits the manufacturing, selling, distribution of alcoholic beverages. Basically, anything to do with alcohol, it was illegal, except it clearly doesn't state the beverage, so it was pretty much the making and everything. People could still drink it. It's just they couldn't really like the way of making it and everything else was illegal. Now, some background information of why this amendment happened was because many people believed that alcohol was the source of other problems. For example, family problems or poverty and things like that. Now, the people or groups that helped make this amendment happen was the Women's Christian Temperance Movement, which is the WCTU, the Anti-Saloon League, ASL, and Carriamella Maroon Nation. Now, the obstacles, this amendment didn't really face obstacles. It was just people didn't really like it. The time that this amendment took to happen was about 2 years. Now, the impact, this amendment had like no impact at all over the people. Like people would still find ways to drink, and it just gave rise to the gangsters. And what these people were, they were like Al Capone. make, sell, and distribute alcohol illegally, and if done correctly, they wouldn't get caught and they would get a nice pay. For example, Al Capone would go $60 million per year and pay your taxes because that's how they got him. Now, the 17th Amendment. The 17th Amendment, protection, what it says, it, yeah, pretty much allows women to vote. That's pretty much it. Um, Women thought that they weren't being treated equal, and they were pretty much just done with that. So they fought for, the right to vote, to at least try to get things more equal. Now, people or groups that fought for this, for example, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, that was there in the Seneca Falls Convention, Lucretia Mott, and Susan B. Anthony. Now, the 17th Amendment faced many obstacles. For example, people thought that women, like, the basic ideal that women should stay at home and pretty much do all the housework, cooking, cleaning. And they also thought that voting would make women more masculine and that women shouldn't be given the right to vote because women weren't educated enough to vote. You know, it was pretty much just the ideals of the the era. Now, the time that it took the amendment to get ratified, it was pretty quick. Within 8 days, they had it. Now, the impact, it balanced things out and made things more equal between men and women. So it had a pretty big impact. It started the incline of women's rights to the point that we have today. Now, the 22nd Amendment, what it says here on the protections, it says puts uh, put limits on the number of terms a president may put limits on the number of presidents a president terms a president may. Okay, whatever. Basically, what this means is that the president could not go for more than 2 terms. Before then, the president could go more than twice, and they saw this problem with one president. Can't recall which one. Not the people or groups that worked to make this amendment happen was pretty much regular people. Regular people saw that this was not a great thing, and they fought to change it. Now, the obstacles was that congressmen didn't really agree with this amendment, so yeah, they fought to not make it happen. Now, the time for the amendment that it took the amendment to work or to get ratified, my bad, it's about 4 years. The impact, it pretty much prohibited the president from going more than 2 terms in office. Now, the last but not least, 26th Amendment. Now, what it says here, it says lowers the voting age to 18. Pretty self-explanatory, right? What it said, some background or why it was needed. The idea that, because there was people going to war at this time, there was young people going to war at this time, and it was around Nixon's time. While Nixon was in presidency, and people saw that or thought, well, if these young people are going to war, why shouldn't they be able to vote? Uh, it says many people believe that if you were old enough to go to war, you were old enough to vote. People or groups that work to make this amendment happen. Some people, for example, Jennings Randolph, who was the first person who actually um, introduced the idea to lower the voting age. Dwight D. Eisenhower, who I think was the first president to propose this idea. Some of the obstacles was that Congress didn't have the power to change the voting age. It was pretty much up to states or something. Yeah, something like that. Now the time that it took to ratify the amendment was 3 months. Uh, kind of short, Kind of it went quick. Now the impact, well, pretty much self-explanatory. As I said before, it pretty much just lowered the age to vote. Younger people could vote, and that's pretty much it. Now, yeah, that's it. Um, Thanks for watching, I guess.